Good morning, YouTube. It is finally time to put the 520 back in the Bonanza. I realize you probably can't see the Bonanza, but if you can, it's right here. So yeah, we're gonna stick that engine in here and I will find something to talk about, so stick around. Now, like I said, we are putting this engine back in the Bonanza. It had a prop strike, so since it had a prop strike, obviously it went out for an IRAN or a prop strike inspection. They did all the work on it and it's now back. So before I get it in the engine, I have to prep. I'm gonna get the engine hoist set up and probably get it on the hoist, but I've got to get the induction manifold back on it and some other little things. So I'll start with that, and then once all that's done, I might go ahead and put the starter on it because it's not gonna be in the way. Once all that's done, hopefully the owner of the aircraft, Carlo, will be here to help me stick it in. So I'm gonna get everything set up and I'll get back with y'all once I've got that done. I'm sorry, I had to turn the camera off for a second and just focus on getting the engine in. These things happen, but we got it in place. You can see I got the front mount started. I'm gonna get this one over here next, and then we'll move on to the backs and we'll start putting everything on top of it. It's a little weird. This has to go on sort of at the same time as everything else, so you're sort of chasing 2 or 3 different things as the engine goes in, but I think we got it front and back, so we'll get it finished. So in this video, I kind of wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about the similarities between old aircraft and old cars. And what I mean by this, for example, is like this here is a forward alternator, right? Which means somewhere in the aircraft is a forward voltage regulator. And these are magnetos with a condenser in them and points, just like a distributor on an old hot rod. So what does that mean? You know, are there other parts in the aircraft that are similar to old hot rods and whatnot? And I'm gonna say, yeah, there's a lot of parts in older aircraft, especially in like the 50s and 60s, a little bit less as we got into the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and virtually none anymore. But back in the day when Cessna and Beechcraft were looking for an alternator, they weren't going to design their own, so they just bought a Ford alternator. Or when they were designing their wheels and their axles to hold the tire, they said, well, why don't we just use wheel bearings, Timken wheel bearings off of a car? So with your older aircraft like this Bonanza, you're going to see a lot of striking similarities in parts between cars and between the aircraft, and even some of them are interchangeable, like the wheel bearings, for example. There are Timken wheel bearings that are interchangeable. However, I say that with a caveat. It's not something you're supposed to do. It's not something you should do, because aircraft parts actually have a PMA, or parts manufacturing approval. So if you go down to O'Reilly's or NAPA, the National Aircraft Parts Association that is, and you buy wheel bearings from them and put them in your aircraft, technically you're in violation of 43 because you're not using aircraft parts. And since Timken does make a line of PMA parts, it's the opinion of some people at the FAA that those are the ones you should buy and not the automotive ones. But the similarities go on. I mean, there's more things like door handles. I've seen door handles off of old Fords. I've seen latches and different things like that. As far as the rest of the construction goes, the cables, the rivets, I mean, obviously that's specific and unique to an aircraft. The plexiglass windows, those are going to be specific and unique to an aircraft. But I mean, even some of the old airplanes, like the light bulbs they'll use, they're light bulbs like what you would find in taillights of an old hot rod, like a Thunderbird, for example, you know? And it's kind of surprising, and that's kind of why I like working on these old aircraft and why I enjoy being an IA so much, is because when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was build hot rods, and aircraft and old hot rods are so similar it's kind of dipping my feet back into that, and it's the same thing that I have at my house in the garage. So, and just like that, the engine is back in. Obviously, we've been putting a lot of stuff on it, and you've been watching that. So let me show you exactly what's going on. So, got all the baffling up on here. I'm starting like this, the ignition harness, for example. That's all got to get fed through here. We got all this hooked up. We're going to start hooking up things on the back of the engine. I will say there is a tremendous benefit, which is none of my vacuum system, you can see it right there, none of my vacuum system is going back in. At some point, somebody put a G5, I think, in it, so it doesn't need the vacuum system anymore, and all that stuff's just been in the cowling taking up space. So we're going to go ahead and rip it all out of the way, and I will do a weight and balance on the aircraft. Since I have a good set of calibrated scales, we'll do a weight and balance and get the accurate weight and balance on it. But yeah, so far it's gone pretty smooth. Couple little hiccups here and there with some small things. More than likely, this is going to be like a 2 or 3 day thing. So I will see y'all again, probably when I'm doing the annual. But yeah, it's going smooth. All right, everybody, we are done for the day. We've got, I don't know, I'd say we're probably 60, 70% of the way there. So we will be back tomorrow to finish up, and that's where I will pick you up next. And just like that, I ran out of storage space on the iPad, but I promise I will make it up to you guys in the next one. This is one of those small issues of using an iPad and not a computer, but I will be upgrading to a computer here very soon. So there you go, everybody. We are pretty much done with the engine installation. There's a couple things we got left, like magneto harnesses. We're missing the hardware for that, so we ordered that. We're also missing the hardware for the exhaust studs. So we ordered those, and we're gonna get those in. I'll probably include that on the next video. I've also got a video coming of unboxing and installing the propeller, so keep an eye out for that. Yes, I realize it's already on, but that will be a separate video. As promised, I'm stretching it into 2 or 3 videos. So if you like the video, leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe, join the Discord, follow me on Instagram, all that good stuff. And as always, go build something and be easy.